forces, they did not intervene from what we were hearing. In fact, we heard that army vehicles were pulling out from Tahrir Square, that they decided not to get involved at all. In fact, some of the anti-Mubarak demonstrators were asking where they were, why they weren't protecting the demonstrators in there. Over the last couple of hours, as I say, we've been hearing to those activists, protesters gathered at Tahrir or Liberation Square. Many of them are youths under the age of 25, very emotional, but say that they are braving the violence for a cause. Among the activists, Mona Saif, who says they'll stay put for as long as it takes to effect a regime change.
We've lost a lot of people, and we've lost them for a cause. The cause is that we wanted Mubarak to be out. We owe it to them to stick it till the end. We have many injured people. It will be very hard to move them. And we know, everyone in the square knows, if we decided to give in now, they will hunt us one by one. We've been through this. We know it. They are shooting. There are people, there are some of the thugs with rifles on the bridge, and they shot at our demonstrators. Like the latest of our dead protesters, he was shot right through the head. I had two friends watching this happen. We are not leaving this place till Mubarak leaves. So there are only two options for the whole world to do. Either they stick to Mubarak and his regime, and you lose thousands of people in this square, and it does not definitely become the Liberation Square, it becomes the Massacre Square or whatever they want to call it, or they put an end to Mubarak regime and give these people, the remaining people here, a chance at living a good life.
You could hear the fear, the drama in Mona Saif's voice as she spoke to us from Tahrir Square about 2 hours ago. Now you're looking at live pictures. In this light now we can see much better what's going on, the lines that have been drawn between the two rival groups, pro-democracy, anti-Mubarak. It looks as if with the light there is some activity going on down there. Fires have been lit on this main thoroughfare of Cairo. It's an extraordinarily tense situation, and people around the world have been commenting via the World Wide Web, via the internet. Let's try this again over to our Egypt desk, where Nazanin Sadri has been monitoring the latest on social media sites. Hello again, Naz.
Yes, thanks, Veronica. Well, as I said, it's been a busy night for online activity, and that's mainly due to internet restrictions being lifted on Wednesday. As we've been reporting for a week now, Egyptian authorities turned off the country's internet service on the evening of Thursday, the 28th. That was believed to have been done to curb protesters organising the so-called Day of Rage last Friday. As you can see on the graph there, there's zero activity on the internet since then. And then take a look at this, the difference this Wednesday early morning when internet providers started getting their services restored, internet traffic reaching high levels again and getting closer to normal levels. Well, as a result, we've been getting a constant stream of updates on Twitter directly from inside Egypt. These are the latest posts updated in the last hour as clashes continue overnight in the capital. Blogger Save tweets, "Everyone is awake, everyone peeking on balconies. Nobody can sleep, everyone tense and tears." Sarah says, "If we're not dying from gunfire, we're all dying a little on the inside." And a regular blogger, Allah, writes, "The sad truth is no politician in this country is worthy of the support of these heroes." Well, these overnight clashes come after a day of confrontation in Cairo. Take a look at these images posted on Facebook. The page says it's from a so-called makeshift hospital set up in Cairo on Wednesday to treat victims. As you can see, some disturbing pictures showing the aftermath of the clashes. We must mention, though, we cannot verify these images. And there's also this picture posted recently on the internet. It appears to show an army officer weeping after protesters were attacked in the square. Quite a poignant image and quite a few tweets coming out reacting to it. And also this video has been posted on YouTube. It claims to show a makeshift medical centre in a back street close to Liberation Square, apparently shot during Wednesday's violence. We see injured protesters taking through to be treated. Most are said to have been hit by rocks. The YouTube page claims they are from the anti-government side and were attacked by pro-government crowds. We cannot again verify this. And just one more thing, there's another interesting trend coming up on Twitter. Several people have posted these pictures of SMS messages that were sent to them from Vodafone Mobile Egypt. They appear to be spreading word of a pro-Mubarak protest, as well as urging Egypt's youth to listen to reason and confront the so-called criminals. It's unclear, of course, whether it's from Vodafone. The message is titled Egypt Lovers. Some subscribers say they did not receive it. Many who did are feeling very angry about it. And of course, it's been a fast developing story in Egypt, and our reporters on the ground are providing regular tweets on what they're witnessing. Here's some of their most recent updates. Victorious anti-government protesters begin washing pro-Mubarak graffiti off the statues in the former no man's land. Crouched in front of the barricade, someone almost hit a Mubarak poster with a Molotov, and the whole crowd get excited. And there's an APC 50 yards away among pro-government crowd, not sure if it was shooting in the air, but heard shots. You can, of course, keep up to date with those tweets and the latest news on our live blog on our website, updated 24 hours a day. We'll have more on all the web activity. But for now, back to you, Veronica.
Thanks a lot, Nazanin Sadri there. I'm just looking at the live picture that we're seeing here. It is dawn in Cairo, Egypt's capital, and as you can see, hundreds of people that we can see in this shot, but thousands more said to be in Liberation Square remaining there. You can see quite different from last night, these makeshift barriers that have gone up as a result of those clashes between the anti-Mubarak demonstrators who've been there for the last 10 days and the pro-Mubarak groups that Nazanin was just talking about then, who apparently are also using the internet and SMS messages to organize themselves. I'm just looking also on the internet, looking at the New York Times front page article about what's been going on. It says the headline is Mubarak foes and allies clash on the streets. And interestingly, the New York Times is reporting that President Mubarak has struck back at his opponents by unleashing waves of his supporters armed with clubs, rocks, knives and fire bombs in a concerted assault on thousands of anti-government protesters in Tahrir Square, calling for an end to his authoritarian rule. Now, we have been quite careful on Al Jazeera because it's been very difficult to verify who's been doing what, although it was absolutely clear yesterday during the daylight hours that it was the pro-government, pro-Mubarak supporters who were assaulting the anti-government positions, but it hasn't been clear that it was President Mubarak who's unleashed these forces, as the New York Times describes it. And it is, you know, a question also of context, what it's like in Egypt, and to what extent would you say our correspondent near to the scene, who I believe is on the line, to what extent does Hosni Mubarak control the situation? Could this have happened if Mubarak had not unleashed it, as the New York Times describes it?
Well, a lot of people here are saying, well, where were these Mubarak supporters for the past 7 days? I mean, they seem to be so emphatic in the last 12 hours, but where were they in the past days when this protest, and there was a million march and the protest first started? So certainly that is the word on the street, if you like, that what people are saying here. They're talking about the fact that after Mubarak makes this statement, he, if you like, makes the so-called concession of saying that he will not run in the next election, and then suddenly we see this sort of wave of violence. And I can tell you because I was walking just alongside the Mubarak supporters as they were approaching Tahrir Square, which it seems like days ago now, but it was only 14 hours or so ago. They were very much in a confrontational mood. They were saying that they were going to go and clear the square. They were against the protesters. You know, we didn't even hear that many chants for Mubarak. It was more anti the protesters and anti Al Jazeera. Those are the two chants that I kept hearing time and time again from them. And it was very much like there were a few people within the crowd who were shouting and the others were following. And that was very different to the days before that I've spent with the other side, the protesters that are pro-democracy inside Tahrir Square. It seemed a lot more cohesive, a lot more natural. the way in which they were transmitting their message, chanting, shouting. Everyone wanted to come up to you and talk to you about why you're here, who you are. It was a completely different scene earlier on yesterday, I suppose it is now, with the Mubarak supporters. They were very, very confrontational, very, very angry, and there was just a sense that there were a few people within the crowd who were controlling things, and the others were following their direction.
We've just had an update that witnesses are saying 5 people now are confirmed to have been killed and 15 injured because of live bullets on demonstrators in Tahrir Square. Once again, we're hearing that 5 people are now confirmed to have been killed and 15 injured by those live bullets on demonstrators in Tahrir Square. This is an extraordinary thing to have happened in this huge capital, an important capital in the Middle East. Really shocking. A few minutes ago, we were speaking to one activist, Mona Saif, who was saying, if the world cares so much, how could this be happening? But of course, the way that it's being framed internationally, or perhaps even you could say in the West, is that regime change in Egypt is accompanied by fears of an Islamist takeover, fears of the structure by which the situation is maintained in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict could escalate. What would be your response to those fears, having covered what's happening in the situation right now and in Israel and the occupied territories?
Well, I think that it's pretty accurate that there are a lot of fears here in terms of what happens next. People can feel that there's no going back now, that change is coming, but is that change going to be positive or negative? What should be the way forward? I think that these clashes really, it's a complete game changer. I think it will change opinion, and it's almost too early to tell in what way that will change opinion. We can see the international reaction already changing, a real backlash from the towards what's been happening in the last 12 hours from the Americans, who at the beginning were somewhat supportive of Mubarak, and then now we're seeing a lot stronger language being used against him. What will be the effect here, and how will that allay any fears here? It's still very early to tell. The light has just started. I would say that people are waking up, but I don't think that they went to sleep to begin with. And I think that the main fear right now is different to what they were feeling in the last few days. It really is very immediate. It's what's going to happen in the next few hours. How am I going to get out of my house and to someone else's house or to a safer zone? Those are what people here, and certainly what people here that I've been speaking to, are thinking about right now.
And I guess they're also wondering about how to protect themselves from the dangers, because the death toll has slowly mounted because of this live fire overnight. I just want to wrap up for viewers where things stand at the moment in Egypt as we enter day 10 of the standoff. Gunshots have been heard in Cairo's Liberation Square over the last few hours. There have been conflicting reports about how many people have been killed, but as I say, we're hearing that 5 people have been killed, 15 people have been wounded, following that day of violence as pro-Mubarak demonstrators clashed with pro-democracy protesters in the square. Eyewitnesses have accused the army of failing to intervene. The US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has spoken to Egypt's newly appointed Vice President Omar Suleiman, condemning the clashes as a, quote, shocking development. She says those responsible for the violence must be held accountable. We've been speaking to our correspondent as we watch this live picture, our correspondent talking about the kind of night that it's been. Really difficult, really horrific. And there seems to be a kind of pause in the intense and violent activity that we've been seeing as people, I guess, regroup for dawn. We have not heard from the army and Egyptian government officials, have we, since those statements calling for protesters to clear the streets in order for negotiations to take place?
No, we haven't. I mean, I've been watching state television, which is really the only mode of communication where I am to try and see what or if